All right, welcome everyone to the Movement. I am Zoe Levine. Let's see, I just saw someone new pop in. Nicole, welcome back. Good to see you. Hi, Nicole. All right, today we are going to work with the balls for your hands and feet specifically. How many of you, just by a show of hands, last week my little tip was just use the soft squishy ball and kind of step on it all over your foot for some texture. It's like a massage in so many ways. How many of you played with that and ended up really enjoying it? Okay, great. Perfect. So that's something we're going to bring back today. We're going to mess around with your feet quite a bit. I like the thumbs up. We're also going to start playing and moving with our hands with these tools. Let me get it back to not gallery. Okay. So I was just telling everyone the two balls that I want you to have around are the squishy one and this little bit more firm one here. We're going to play with just hands for a second. And all this is coming from a technique that I use all the time. I've been using it for decades at this point. One of my favorite tools in the world is called the MELT method, MELT. And we use soft foam rollers for whole body work, but we also use specialized balls like this squishy ball and similar to this bouncy ball to release fascial tissue, to rehydrate your joints, rehydrate your connective tissue, and to really, it's just one of the best tools I've found out there out of decades of moving with movement to decrease pain and just increase efficiency in the way we move and feeling more easeful in our bodies, which is always my goal. And it's our goal here as well. One of the biggest things that happens with our computing work all day long is our hands get stuck in this kind of position, whether it's ergonomic or we're all over the place. It's still this. It's still a lot of small, short movements in a similar position for a lot of the day. So far, we've done a lot of stretching that open, or a lot. We've done some stretching of that to open that space up, which is still a great idea. It's part of the snow globe work that we do. So let's start with just feeling how does that feel? What does that tension or pull feel like in your hands? You can just pull some fingers back. Are they tight from what you've been doing so far today? Especially noticing this thumb joint. How far can you spread that thumb? Can you get that big L? Because eventually and often as we age, we start to lose that space, and that's arthritis, right? Pulling to make smaller. It's like our skin gets small and squishes our bones in a way. So you are going to learn how to keep your fascia hydrated so we don't get the squish and we keep that space. You can also enjoy just a little moment of snow globe, moving your arms around and noticing when you stretch your arms and you extend your hands like that, you get that fascial pull, right? So notice how tight that is as you're playing with your snow globe. Just one lovely way to get started. You can move however you want. You could get your ribs involved, right? So you can get a feel for where are you at. Like that can be tight. You feel your skin pulling. That's your fascia, right? Another assessment for your arms, your arm line and your hands is go ahead and take your forearms together like this. And then if you open your palms like it'd be like a T shape, right? Like the letter T. Ideally, we're kind of all the way flat, like Paula there. If you can see Paula, like that flat T, notice I'm not there either. I've got a little bit of a tight arm line. My point is, after we start working the hands, you might find you have more space. And that space in that whole fascial line, it's not just here down low about your hands, the whole thing. And guess what? All this fascia is connected to neck. Anybody neck and shoulder pain and tension, right? So sometimes we go to neck and shoulder pain and tension by addressing that directly. Sometimes you can start by opening up your hands to give your shoulders and your neck more space. So today we come from and work on the hands. And then at the end, we'll review and squish around on the feet so your legs don't get jealous. All right. For starters, Yep, just grab the softball, and we're gonna do, there's a lot that you can do squishing your hand on a table. For today, we're just gonna kind of double duty, get a little squish just hand to hand, and you can interlace your hands. And just, we're gonna do like we did with the feet, kind of mess around and give a little squish, like you're kneading it, a little squish in various places. You can find an area and kind of give it a little squish or squeeze. And you can just, yeah, like you're kneading dough and you're kind of kneading the ball and just looking for this whole, you can't see down here, this whole area of your palm, you're looking to get some squish. And it's working on hydrating that fascia, that connective tissue that gets sticky and stuck. You can picture it like it gets cobwebby, or we call it dehydrated, and creating a little pressure and movement can help to hydrate that tissue and find more free flowing and easeful movement, which will help give your joints more space and we're less sticky. Good. So after all that squish, you're going to take the ball, a smaller firm ball, and do the same with that. But this time you're going to think of find a point and give it a little squish. You find another point and give it a little squish. So you're kind of getting both hands at the same time. We're not getting super specific for where it is. You're just staying within this range on the palm. And you're kind of getting both hands at the same time. If it bothers your hands to grip, if you already have some arthritis going on and gripping anything hurts, you could just squish on a table, right? If you're sharing this with someone else, my hand could be a table. You just kind of squish with pressure into all the different points. And we're not getting specific with where, just kind of getting a little pressure kind of everywhere, mobilizing all those joints in the hands, just like we did with the feet last week, if you were here for that. Good. Now we're going to focus on one of my favorite points here. This thumb pad is nice and thick, and that's where I said we lose a lot of that space. So you're going to take the ball right at that thumb pad. You can interlace your fingers, and then you just kind of massage in there. And you can keep kind of moving it around and getting it back to a good spot. But just need that tissue, right? It's more muscly in there. It might be more tender for some of us because it's a lot of, right? It's all the like claw hands on the computer. So just massage gently. I was about to say massage the heck out of it. But that's not quite what we're going for. Sometimes we go for too much pressure. It's just that gentle, like, oh, that feels so nice. Lovely, respectful pressure is what you're looking for. Then from here, you're going to end up making the pathway will be like a little smile as the ball rolls back and forth or glides back and forth across the base of the palm. And you can do that even as your fingers are crossed. And I'm lifting my elbows so you can see a little bit better, but this could be very relaxed, right? I don't want to increase the tension in your neck and shoulders while we're trying to release some tension in the neck and shoulder. You can hear the elephants I have upstairs, maybe. There's a lot going on up there. All right, so from here, one of my other favorite bits is to take, this is kind of it's a bigger ball than I usually use, but you can give it a try. See if it will fit at all between your fingers. And then you might not be able to make a full fist, but it's like you're going to head toward making a fist until you feel that pull or stretch gentle between your fingers. Right? This is amazing if you know anyone with arthritis, any of this that we're doing today, any of it, share with them right away. So important to find space when you're losing space in your joints. Try the next one. So I spend half my practice helping people find space to either avoid arthritis and all the other things that come before that actually happens. All the ways we lose space in our joints. Good. And just keep moving across. So with a smaller ball, it doesn't matter. I was going to say. So sometimes I use a ball that's this small and it will end up looking more like a fist. So it's totally fine if this ball feels ginormous and you can't quite get the full fist. The last one might be tricky. And then for the thumb, it might not work at all for you, but you could try going in front of the webbing and just giving a little squeeze in here. Right? That might work. It might not feel like much. You can try it. And then do the same thing on the other side, because we've done all the same things. So just between the fingers, as far as it'll go down. And ideally you can get that pretty far down into the gap between your fingers and then give it a little squeeze. You might notice it wanting to pop out, right? Because it's a big stretch, likely. And you can try that with the next one. So this is, can you picture this as like a, what do I want to say? Almost like, I wanted to say like a doodle, like if you were doodling while you were thinking or brainstorming or even talking with someone, something where you didn't have to be typing, right? This is something that you could just have at your desk and you're just kind of fidgeting, I guess is a better word, fidgeting with it to find space really gently, right? Not, I have to get a bigger stretch. Make sure you get that thumb webbing or try to just give a little squeeze in there. And just squeeze and release, squeeze and release. Nothing big. Good. And then last thing we'll do for this is just a little friction. And we'll add on other times. There's a couple other parts to a little series that I do, but just enough to get you an idea of what's going on. A little massage, a little thumb pad love, a little back and forth, and then some friction all over. And then let that go and just let your arms hang and hang out and notice if you feel any sensation, not just in your hands might feel something, but as you feel up your arms, you might notice a little loveliness in your forearms. You might notice your shoulders feel a little easier in some ways. Some of you might notice an ease at the neck. It's not necessary at the moment. But it is starting to open up the fascial line that's very much connected just at the other end. Try forearms together and notice if you're opening to your T. It might not be flat as a T. I'm never going to get there necessarily, but it feels easier to get to a little wider place. So notice if you have some space. I see a lot of you feel it or look like you're going a bit wider. So that's great. That means you've got more space. And go ahead and do your playing with your snow globes and see if there's just a different kind of pull or more ease or something feels more open. And whatever you feel, it's because if that fascia was tight in your hands, notice that's going to restrict all the way up into your shoulder and neck. But if you start to loosen that up, the whole webbing gets more space. So just see if you feel any of that today. Yeah. Again, for the everyday, squish and fidget, squish and fidget. The small ball, if you want a more firm sensation, rub that around, squish and fidget, squish and fidget. And again, I do more specific techniques, but if it's something that you're going to do every day, you're going to do something that's easy like that. And then the between the fingers is another good one to just play with. You don't have to take long, just a little something. Let that ease up the whole arm line and you have a little bit more space and freedom. All right, let's review what we did with your feet. So for this, we're just going to use the softball. I'm going to bring you down lower. Okay. And then remember a little bit of an assessment here. It's always nice before you get started to stand on your own 2 feet without shoes on here. Ideally barefoot completely, but if you need socks on, you can have socks on. And just kind of settle into your feet and notice what you feel. Do you feel more weight toward your toes or toward your heels? Do you feel more weight on the inner arch or outer arch? Do you feel more weight on one foot than the other? And then noticing 2 key points, kind of thinking up your legs and feeling up the legs. Notice if the fronts of your thighs are gripping at all. So you might feel a little grip right above your kneecap, pulling those muscles up. Notice if that's tense. Ideally, you don't need that to stack your bones. And then the other thing I always want you to notice in these standing assessments is is your butt gripping at all? And there's like the butt tucked toward the hamstrings, that kind of gripping to tuck under, or there's also a gripping like butt cheeks squeezed together gripping. So if you're doing any of that, notice it. Notice if that's a habit. That's not bone stacking. That's like having to hold yourself upright in some way, which is less than ideal, which is everything we're working on is trying to take you out of that and into a more easeful stacking of bones. And this is a big one of them. So just to review, we started with 1 foot. You eyes are open at this point. We start with 1 foot and right at the eye of the center of the foot. So I'm going to give you the specific points that we did. There's 5 sets of points here. The first one's just the center of the foot. And then when you're there, you can bend your knees and start to move your joints around. So your knees wiggle around a little bit, your shoulders, your hips, and it's just letting all of your joints kind of move through space, and your body has to figure out what their relationship is to your root at the bottom of your foot. It's also a chance to get that shearing sensation. You know how we found with the hands? Now you're getting that with the foot, right? By moving around, you get that shearing, okay? Then point number 2 is actually 5 points across the top of the foot. So you go to the ball of the big toe, and you don't have to remember all this because for homework, you're still just going to squish the ball anywhere if you want. These are just some pretty important points that you'll get to anyway. So we're going to the ball of the big toe. It's not the toe themselves. So it's, if it was your hand, it would be not up here, not there, but right in the thick part down here. And you just take a step on each of those. I'm on the 4th ball of the foot, and then the 5th. You just have a moment feeling that front arch really spread out. It's very, very important that our feet are aware, sensitive, awake, alive, and all of our joints are able to participate. The next set of points is number 3, and this is 2 points on the inner arch. I go to the center first because it's easy to remember, just the center right between the big toe and the heel. And then if you get closer to the ball of the big toe, that's the next point. It's kind of nestled in next to the bone without being right on it like you were a second ago. This point very much corresponds to neck and base of skull tension. So if it's a little tender for you all the time, just pay attention to that. Outer edge of the foot right between pinky toe and heel. Take a little moment. This one, if anyone's ever talked about a tight IT band, that IT band fascia and connective tissue runs directly all the way down and connects under here. The tissue does, not the IT. The IT band just connects to the tissues that connect to the foot. So this is one way to start making sure that stays open. Just like from the fingers, we get that open arm line right in front of your heel. There's that gateway up the back line of the body that we've been doing so much to stretch. Now go ahead and take a little gliding side to side, like you're squishing a bug in front of your heel. And you can go on the heel and back to in front of your heel, and then pause there. Have a little time to hold, let the tissue adapt. This is like a gateway up that back line of the body. We weren't really open. And then you're going to go toe to heel, just a little squish from the big toe to the heel. And then you can go squish second toe to heel, and then third toe to heel, and 4th and 5th. And I'm going fairly quickly because it can be sloppy. You don't have to be precious with it. And then rub down just like we did with the hands, all over. And let it go. Stand tall. I do invite you to close your eyes and take a little check-in to feel the difference between one side and the other. Even with a short, only softball experience, and there's more that we can add on, that leg is going to feel different than the other leg. Definitely the foot, but the whole leg might feel different, more open, more stacked. Same thing on the other side. I'll go through fairly quickly. Eye of the center of the foot, right smack in the middle. You can bend your knees and just move your joints around, both for that shearing massage sensation that you're getting at the center of the foot from the ball, and it's also good for your joints to just figure out where they are in space in relationship to your foundation here. And then pause, get the ball to the ball of the big toe. You get a step down there. We'll go through all those joints super fast because we're right at time. So you're going to speed through all the front of the foot here, just a little moment in each. And then you can go inner arch right between the big toe and heel, closer to the ball of the big toe. And again, Doesn't matter if these spots are perfect, because your homework anyway can be more about, we're on the outside of the foot, can be more about just squishing the ball under your foot anywhere, right in front of your heel. Good. We're going to do that gliding side to side. And if you remember any of the points, or if you remember to do this gliding on the heel and in front of the heel, if you remember to do a hold, it's all bonus. If you do some rinsing, toe to heel, each toe to heel, just drawing a little squish line on each toe to heel, and then doing friction, all that's bonus points. Don't get any of that extra, great. Back to friction on the first side. And then back to friction on that second side. And that's all we're doing. But do let it go. Stand tall, close your eyes, and notice if you're standing any differently. If things are just more easeful, less tension, your feet might be more aware or open, or they just might feel different. If you walk around your space right now, you might notice your hips feel a little more free, which is that whole idea of this is a global treatment. It's not just about your feet. Once your feet are open and aware and alive, they can shout out those messages to everything else that's been holding extra tension, like, hey, I got this. I'll let you know if I need you to be tense, but now is not the time. We're in a safe place, right? All right, so you have things to just mess around and play with your hands. You have things to just mess around and play with your feet without getting too serious or precious about any of it. Just start taking care of your tissue, knowing that it speaks up that whole line, whether it's up through your legs and your hips or your neck and your shoulders. It's just a great place to start. Sound good? Any questions? All right, come on over, say hi or bye before you have to leave. And then you'll let me know how all that super duper easy ball work goes over the next week.
Thanks, Zoe.
Thank
So
you.
much.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.